There was a moment. You missed it. But they didn't. The moment they stopped respecting you. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It didn't come with an argument or a warning. It was small. A boundary you didn't enforce. A comment you let slide. A standard you lowered just to keep the peace. And something shifted. Not in what they said. In how they saw you. That shift, that subtle recalibration, that's where respect died. And most people don't notice when it happens. They only notice when it's already gone. Here's what most people get wrong. They think respect is lost in big moments. A betrayal, a fight, a major mistake. It's not. Respect erodes quietly. In the moments where you hesitate. In the moments where you compromise your own standard. In the moments where you swallow discomfort to avoid tension. Every time you tolerate what you said you wouldn't, you update your value in their mind. And once that update happens, it becomes their new baseline. The Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The first rule is to keep an untroubled spirit, not just for your peace, for your presence. Because when you're reactive, when you're inconsistent, when you're seeking approval, people feel it. And what people feel is what they respond to. You cannot demand respect while behaving in ways that signal insecurity. That contradiction is where most people live, wanting high treatment while demonstrating low standards. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The moment they stopped respecting you was the moment you stopped respecting yourself in front of them. Not privately. Privately doesn't change dynamics. In front of them. When you chased after distance. When you explained yourself to someone who wasn't listening. When you accepted behavior you once said was unacceptable. That was the moment. And they saw it clearly, even if you didn't. So what actually happens in that moment? Someone tests a boundary. Small, subtle, almost harmless. A joke that cuts slightly too deep. A tone that implies superiority. A last-minute cancellation with zero accountability. And you have two options. Option 1, enforce immediately. Calm, direct, unemotional. That doesn't work for me. No explanation, no justification, no attempt to soften it. Just standard. Option 2, let it slide. You laugh it off. You over-explain why it bothered you. You try to sound reasonable. And that's where erosion begins. Here's why. When you enforce a boundary without defending it, you communicate certainty. But when you explain why your boundary makes sense, you invite evaluation. You hand them the role of judge. And the moment someone becomes judge of your standards, respect becomes optional. Most people miss this entirely. They think explaining equals maturity. In reality, over-explaining often equals insecurity. Respect is built on clarity, not persuasion. Here's another truth people avoid. Respect isn't granted for being right. It's granted for being solid. You can be imperfect and respected if you are consistent. But you can be intelligent, kind, and correct, and still lose respect if you bend every time pressure appears. Inconsistency is louder than competence, because inconsistency signals instability, and instability makes people test you, repeatedly. Epictetus said, "No one can hurt you without your consent, not physically, psychologically. Disrespect is an offer. If you ignore it, it passes. If you enforce against it, it stops. If you tolerate it, it grows. The moment you tolerate it, you teach them it's allowed. Allowed behavior becomes repeated behavior. Repeated behavior becomes identity, and identity defines how you're treated." Here's the brutal part. You cannot regain respect by increasing effort. More attention won't fix it. More availability won't fix it. More explaining won't fix it. Because the problem was never effort. The problem was permission. The only way respect returns is when permission is revoked. Quietly, consistently, without announcement. And people feel that shift immediately. Let me tell you when this became real for me. Someone kept pushing, small things, interrupting, being late, half listening. And every time, I adjusted. I didn't want conflict. I wanted to be easy, understanding, flexible. But flexibility without standards doesn't read as maturity. It reads as weakness. And one day I realized they weren't treating me casually. They were treating me conditionally. Because I showed them I would stay regardless. Respect didn't disappear overnight. It drained slowly, through dozens of small moments where I prioritized comfort over clarity. The day I stopped doing that, the dynamic changed. Some people resisted, some disappeared, but everyone recalibrated, because my standards were no longer negotiable. Here's what the Stoics lived by. You teach people how to perceive you, not through words, through tolerance. If you tolerate inconsistency, you'll receive inconsistency. If you tolerate disrespect, you'll receive disrespect. If you tolerate being optional, you become optional. Respect requires boundaries. Boundaries require discomfort. Most people avoid discomfort and then wonder why they're not respected. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." Stop arguing for respect. Stop explaining why you deserve it. Stop negotiating your standards. Become someone who does not tolerate what diminishes them. No drama, no speeches. Just alignment between what you say and what you allow. Here's the final truth. The moment they stopped respecting you was the moment you gave silent permission. Through tolerance, through chasing, through inconsistency. You cannot rewrite that moment, but you can create a new one. The moment you begin enforcing your standards without emotional reaction, without over-explaining, without fear of loss, is the moment respect returns. Some will adjust, some will leave. Both outcomes are protection, because when your standards rise, your circle filters itself. Respect isn't begged for, it's signaled. And the signal is simple. This is what I allow. This is what I don't. Clear, consistent, unapologetic. The moment you live that way, respect stops being something you chase and becomes something that follows you.